Hi guys, it's Natasha with Revolution 935 Radio, based out of Miami. We are Miami's home of dance music, and I'm sitting here with special guest Morgan Page. How are you today?
Doing good. How's it going?
I'm good, and it's kind of cold, kind of windy, but I feel like a lot of people have been showing up here at DAER Dayclub. So how do you feel about your set today so far?
I'm excited. I'm going to unveil some new stuff I've never road tested yet. So some new stuff I just finished in the studio. Cool. So they're going to hear it for the first time. So if you're Shazamming stuff and it doesn't come up, it's a new Morgan Page.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see you later on today. So one of the things I want to talk about right now, something that's kind of the theme of, the last couple weeks is how is it being a DJ that's traveling all the time? You have coronavirus going on right now. You're dealing with a bunch of people, all these crowds and stuff. Like, how do you guys kind of take precaution around that? Because I feel like you risked your life today to be here,
Right,
so how is that going to be for you guys?
I know. My family was asking, I have a daughter now. I'm a new parent, so you got to be a little extra careful. Thank you. Yeah, I think you just got to be careful, and I think the harder part is the paranoia, the fear that's going on. Right. That's probably more dangerous than the actual flu, even though this is serious enough to be an issue. So I didn't wear a mask on the plane. We were talking about earlier, the mask actually makes the problem worse.
Okay.
So I think you just wash your hands a lot, and
I feel like you have to adopt that kind of fashion that a bunch of these other DJs are wearing this mask thing now. I feel like if everybody's kind of trying to
now it's a fashion statement.
Yeah. I feel like so many DJs are wearing that mask now, don't you think?
Yeah, Alan Walker beat us to it.
Right. So, anyways, to get kind of outside of that, the whole thing that's going on right now. So speaking of music, I had actually my first time seeing you live, I think was back in 2010. The first time, my first pool party in Las Vegas at Encore Beach Club.
Nice.
You were playing out there, and obviously had an amazing time seeing you out there. And, you kind of have this style, this format of progressive house, doing that longer format of introducing the music or the vocals. And I'm curious to know, with Spotify now, there's another kind of structure to how you produce music, and I wanted to see your thoughts on that, or as a DJ who's been around for quite some time, how that maybe is something that you have to change in your style, or?
Yeah, definitely shorter songs. So I think the medium has changed the media that you're making. Mm-hmm. So an extended mix is 3.5 minutes now, and it used to be 7.
Right.
So now with the technology and the DJ software, it's changed. So you don't need to spend as much time beat matching and synchronizing. So you're seeing quicker mixing overall, and just the way people are consuming and playing the music back.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. I still like to do vocals and the breakdowns, and there's still build-ups, but it's this interesting balance that you have to find between what works live, like the energy in a live situation, and also what streams and what works on Spotify.
Right.
So I try to have a balance of both. It's still got to have some energy, and maybe I'll have remixes done that have a little more energy for the live version of the show.
So you can say that it has affected your style at all, or yeah?
Yeah, but I think now you have a little more room to play with on Spotify, and that you don't have to make EDM bangers, and those actually don't do as well. It's more, I think that you can go a little mellower on your Spotify, your singles that are streaming, and then live you can have it be a little more aggressive if you need to.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good advice.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, that whole thing when I had seen you that first time 10 years ago, the song that actually turned me on to you was deadmau5's remix of your song, The Longest Road. And so I'm curious to know what it's like collaborating with deadmau5, because I see that just recently you were going to do a remix of one of his tracks as well, right?
Yeah, I remixed one of his songs, Imaginary Friends, and that was fun. I mean, it'd be cool if it was an in-person collaboration, but it was more just I have the stems and I work on a remix for him, and that was an album he did in, I think Dolby Atmos or surround sound. So I had these crazy stems almost made for a theater sound system. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them didn't even work, so I ended up just using this one loop of synths and strings, and those limitations made a really cool remix. So I was able to cut it up, make it to totally something new.
Cool. So you haven't personally worked with him ever?
No.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah, no, okay. I mean, we know each other, we see each other every now and then, but it's always collaboration is, it's how you define it, I guess. It can be remote, can be in person, and a lot of the collabs I'm doing these days, especially with coronavirus, they're remote, and we're sending stems back and forth.
Of course.
So maybe you're not in the same session with somebody. Even with vocalists, I used to track more vocalists in the studio. Mm-hmm. I still prefer that, to have them over my shoulder singing.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's the new process now is more collaborative. It moves faster, and you got to release a single every month.
Okay. And speaking of vocalists, so one of the things that you kind of like focus your music to be like surrounding the vocal, and I know that you have said before that you've wanted to work with vocalists like Ed Sheeran or with Adele, and do you still attest to that, or are there any newer vocalists that you might want to work with?
I checked all the boxes.
Did you?
Done. Did the track with Ed and Adele. No, it's funny. I remember because I don't know if we talked about this last time, but Adele, we had reached out years ago, and Adele's manager was like, "Oh, she's a little busy. She's pregnant right now." Like I couldn't believe we got a response.
That's so crazy.
But I think now what's really cool is talent will bubble its way up organically, and I'll often find producers that have won remix contests where I play their music on my radio show, or there's a singer that really catches my ear. But I think it's interesting now because there's more singers, and there's also more singers that sound alike, so you have to work a little harder to find that unique sound. And you're finding singers that are more technically savvy too, that know how to record themselves. I think that's a big change. They don't have to have an engineer or somebody, so you're hearing more voices, and it's up to you to kind of curate who you want to work with. So
if you were to say anybody now that you haven't yet, or is there anyone that you might have your eye on, who would that be?
Well, I guess I can talk about it. I'm working on something with Lights.
Okay.
And she's doing really cool stuff. And I met her running into Joel at a show. Okay. And I have to be fans of each other's stuff. So I think it's always good when you're mutual fans of each other.
Right.
Who's on my wish list? Man, there's so many. I mean, like Dua Lipa would be amazing.
Right,
you know.
Of course.
But I think the best work usually comes from the undiscovered talent, and it's much harder to chase somebody that's already taken off, and it's easier to find somebody that's got that raw talent. So I'm still looking for that. But there's a lot of really cool singers, up and comers that I'm working with right now.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear. And so, aside from Spotify and the music and the production and stuff, a lot of things that I've noticed with interviews that you've done in the past is we're really focusing on the production. I know that you've taught like a bunch of classes around that, and what is it like to live a day in the life of Morgan Page outside of the music? Like, is there anything else that you are passionate about, or you wake up in the morning and if you're not going to produce music, what else are you doing?
I'm taking care of my daughter. That's a big time commitment. Obviously, having kids. I got one more on the way.
Oh, wow.
And so
what's her name? Your daughter?
B. I've been training her to DJ, so that's really fun.
How old is she now?
She's almost 2. She's 18 months.
Oh my gosh,
so
that's awesome. How do you train an 18-month-year-old?
I know. She can barely talk.
How do you do that? Like, what is that like?
Just the buttons. She's got good muscle memory already. She'll find stuff in the menus on my CDJs that I don't even know existed because it's just chaos. That's been really
inspiration.
Fun. Yeah. But what do? I really try to stay healthy. I do a lot of trail running in LA. I live near the mountains. So I live up in a canyon, and I try to just stay really healthy. I'm big into wine, of all things. Like really good small batch wine, nice. instead of doing like tequila shots and vodka.
Right.
I'd rather do like before the show, have like a nice glass of wine.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So you want to be like a somm someday? No,
it'd be cool. I've gone really deep into it, but that's fun. But I think, one of the biggest things I'm spending time on, like I'm launching an interview podcast soon, and we're just getting all the episodes created where it's not just interviewing DJs, it's people who make the headphones, make the equipment, and where everything converges with the technology and people behind that.
Right.
So I love doing that. That's been a really interesting passion. But also, giving back, doing my MP Quick Tips, the Morgan Page Quick Tips that I do. I've been doing that for about 8 years, and that's every time I get a good idea for workflow or a way to improve my sets or a way to improve my mix downs, I write it down, I put it in a spreadsheet, and then I tweet it. And that's turned into a card deck. So it's a visual card deck. I paid an illustrator to design these really cool illustrations for it. So I like being able to document it just selfishly so I don't forget these things that have really helped me, and also just to share it with the community.
Awesome. That's amazing. So you were talking about, like all this, getting into tech and stuff. Like, I don't know if you'd consider yourself like a tech geek or a tech nerd, but you've worked a lot with like VR and Elon Musk and these kind of things, like progressive stuff. So is there anything that you're working on now that's outside of that? Like, I don't know, IBM Watson or, anything else that's like progressive?
There's some really interesting stuff happening with tactile sound, like with Subpack, what they're doing. And I think you're going to see, I can't talk about it yet, but there's some interesting stuff happening with car audio and changing the way you hear music in the car.
Ooh, cool.
So there's some stuff we're working on like that. That's going to be interesting. But, I've done some scoring projects for Tesla and SpaceX, and I DJ for Elon every now and then.
Very cool.
So it's cool to know his family, and they're all just brilliant entrepreneurs. Even his mom.
Really?
Yeah, his mom doesn't even get a discount on the car. Everyone asks me for discounts for some reason. I'm like the unofficial spokesperson for Tesla.
That's awesome, though. So last but not least, Music Week. Hopefully, things are running out and everything with, all the health concerns right now. But you're supposed to be doing the rave spa party, right? With Dada Life, Dallas K. You want to tell us more about Music Week or what's to come?
Yeah, hopefully everything is still on. There's I'm going to do a mentorship panel for Winter Music Conference as well. Okay. So right now they were like, oh, it's paused. So I think all the parties will probably still happen. Right. But we'll see. It's kind of up in the air. So I think we are going to see some big ripple effects with stuff. But I love Miami. I love coming and meeting everybody. It's one of the most valuable times of the year to sort of randomly meet your idols and your peers all in one place. And it's all about the unscheduled meetings. That's what I love with Miami. Right. Where you just run into people. It's like the lobby effect. Yeah, just go to the W. Just hang out in the W lobby and you'll meet everybody.
You're good to go during Music Week. Well, is there anything else we can expect from you in 2020 or?
Just lots of new music.
Yeah.
There's 3 new singles coming up. So I'm signed to Armada. So the next one is going to be a track called You with Mellow Kids. And they're up and coming producers from Poland. They're doing amazing stuff.
Awesome.
Another case of when I find somebody that I love their music and I put it in my show and then, we work on a track, we team up. So there's a ton of new big vocal singles coming out soon. So it's going to be a mix of club bangers, vocal singles, and obviously the interview show as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So congratulations. You're going to have that podcast coming up. You were just talking about it. So where can we expect to see it, or how do we get access to it once that's out?
It's going to start as just a regular Apple podcast, and then I might dovetail that into SiriusXM. So we're figuring it out because it's SiriusXM, Pandora, and all that, and all those companies are changing. So, but it's cool. It's cool to have something where they can't take it down. It's your voice.
Exactly.
So they can't do a music takedown.
So it's all on your terms at this point. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for meeting with us at Revolution 935. What are your social media handles, or where can we find you?
I'm pretty much at Morgan Page everywhere. I'm super interactive on Instagram if anybody wants to see me on there. Also, mpquicktips.com if you're a music producer or just a creative type. It's a good site to check out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I wish you good luck for your set here at Dayclub.